A very good morning to each and every one of you. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us this morning. Before we get into our program, I would like to thank our esteemed speakers for making the time to join us this morning. We are happy to be in your company. Thank you so much. To our member companies, thank you for also making the time to join us this morning. We hope that this webinar is helpful in terms of your day-to-day running of your business. And of course, all our participants via the webinar or via our social media platforms, welcome. And thank you for joining us. My name is Alicia Logan. I head up the membership department at Proudly South African, and I would be your host today. I would like to go through just the prospectus for the webinar, just give you a little bit of a background as to why we are talking about cybersecurity for SMMEs today. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about a personal experience, just to give you an idea of how small to medium-sized enterprises are really badly affected by lack of, effective IT measures within a business and how this actually affects your bottom line. So in terms of the webinar today, the webinar seeks to explore how in today's rapidly evolving digital landscape, small to medium-sized enterprises are really facing an unprecedented rise in cyber threats, from phishing scams, ransomware attacks, to data breaches and supply chain vulnerabilities. So unlike large corporations, our small to medium-sized enterprises often lack the resources and in-house expertise to manage these threats effectively. Yet the impact is nonetheless really bad. So the impact of even a minor incident can be devastating, leading to loss in revenue, reputational damage, and of course, legal implications. So we thought it would be important for us to raise awareness of cybersecurity or cybersecurity risk, introduce core cybersecurity principles, and of course, identify the common threats and vulnerabilities that face SMMEs within, cybersecurity. So before I get into the speakers, I wanted to give a little background into my own experience with issues with cyber security. So my husband runs a business and he is in the production and manufacturing. So it's an OEM for branding. And a lot of the times the focus is on production. And when your focus is on production, it leaves a little bit of a sort of gray area, whereby security and admin is not at the forefront of the business, or IT security and admin is not at the forefront. So during this period, I witnessed myself so many cybersecurity issues. One of them being when a company sends you, their invoice for payment. So they'll send you their invoice and you send it to the admin department for processing, and not realizing that that invoice has already been intercepted and the banking details have been changed. By the time the payment goes through, you realize, because the customer is then asking, I haven't been paid, where's my payment? And it is only at that point do small to medium-sized enterprises realize that they've been hacked. Email hacks are so common. As a business, I don't think it's only small businesses that face email hacks. I think across large businesses as well. But yeah, again, people are then having first-hand access to your IP, to your day-to-day running of your business. Something as simple as emails have all of the information, someone needs to be able to understand everything that's going on within your business. So these things are very common. They happen to almost all businesses. And I know that small to medium-sized enterprises, if you're a manufacturing business, your core is really about manufacturing and getting that product to your client. So IT does suffer a bit, but it is so important that IT security administration is still kept at the forefront of your business in order to make sure that your business does not get hacked, your infrastructure is not hacked, and that your IP and all of your business information is safe. So today we have a host of speakers, industry experts that are on the call, and we are going to hand over to each of the speakers in order where they will be able to take you through cybersecurity and hopefully equip you as a small to medium sized enterprise with the know-how on how to secure your business and to make sure that from an IT perspective, you are secure. So our first speaker is a member company of ours, Bridge. They've been a member for quite a while now. We have a very good relationship with them. So I would like to call on Leko Baloyi, who will take you through a little bit about SciSec as a business and how you can obviously then equip yourself from an IT security point of view. I hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Alicia. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to your guests here today. Thank you so much for everyone attending, and I will start my presentation. As Alicia said, I am Nonkululeko Baloyi, and I come from a company called the SciSec Bridge. Now, the SciSec Bridge is under a group of companies called VNQ Systems, and VNQ Systems was started in 2017, and the main focus of VNQ Systems was for the big corporates. VNQ provided data protection services to clients in the banking industry. We've got clients in telecommunications, we've got clients in transport and logistics, and most of these companies are multinational companies. So they have, a worldwide footprint. And we decided as a company that not only do we need to provide these services to the multinationals, the big guys that can actually afford it, but with South African SMEs, making up 60% of the workforce in South Africa, we really wanted to shift that focus and direct it to giving this opportunity to secure small to medium businesses. And that's how the SciSec Bridge came about. Just share my screen. Just sharing my screen. It's taking a while. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. There we go. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, fantastic. Okay. As I mentioned, we started this company to focus mainly on the small to medium businesses. And we wanted to make sure that they get the same quality service at an affordable price. And, by ensuring that we secure these SMMEs, then it's going to be a huge impact on South Africa's economy. We speak to SMEs on a daily basis, and when we talk to them, a lot of them say, oh, I've already got an antivirus, or my business is too small, I don't need cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is expensive. These are all misconceptions. You don't think it'll happen to you, as Alicia shared her story, until it does. We've had clients that have been hacked, and only then the importance of cybersecurity came to the forefront. By then, it's too late. It's too late once you've been hacked, but it's important to, ensure that you secure your business before you get hacked. And, installing an antivirus and thinking you're secure, it's basically like locking a door and leaving the windows wide open. You know, I'm not saying antivirus is not necessary, but, it's not enough, especially to meet full compliance with POPIA or protecting personal sensitive information. Okay. Now, there are a few questions that we ask SMEs in order to just understand their landscape, their cybersecurity landscape, how secure are them? And if you're an SME and you answer no to most of these questions, then you're at a huge risk of a cyber attack, a cyber breach. The first question is data important to your business? What data am I talking about? That's anything from, identifiable information such as your staff's ID numbers, email addresses, information that you use to run your operations, supplier details. Is that information important to your business? The next question. The next question, do you make use of Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace? That's your OneDrive, your Teams, SharePoint, Google Drive. Do you make use of that? And do you know what's happening to your data right now? Do you know where your data is stored? A lot of companies cannot answer these questions, and these are crucial questions to be able to run your daily operations as a business owner. And another question we ask is, how will a loss or breach affect your business? How will it impact your operations, your ability to conduct your business, your day-to-day operations, your cash flow? What will the unbudgeted, out of pocket expenses be, that come from a data breach? And the last question is, do you have cyber insurance? Now, if you've answered no to most of these questions, you're at huge risk. You're at huge risk at your data being stolen and, ransomware attacks. We've got a number of incidents that our clients have experienced. One case down in Cape Town where one of our SMEs, they stopped at a petrol station just to grab a few items. They had their laptop in the car, and unfortunately, the car was broken into. Common in South Africa. His work laptop was stolen, and it obviously had critical documents, records, operational data, and all of that. And obviously, in distress, he called us. This was around 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And what happened next is we verified that his data had been continuously backed up by us, via our solution. And we were able to get him a new device. And by the next morning, we're able to restore that, all the files, and ship that machine back to him. And luckily, there was no data lost and no client interruptions because his data had been backed up by us. This just shows really the importance of backing up your data. You back up to recover, and if you can't fully recover, it's a big problem. When disaster strikes, you're going to lose a lot of money. You're going to lose clients. You're going to lose confidence in your business. As Alicia briefly mentioned, as a business owner, your goal is to deliver whatever product or service you deliver to your end client. The last thing on your mind is IT security, cybersecurity. You're not thinking about that. You want to make sure that you cover all your bills at the end of the month. You pay your employees, and you're able to move on and get through the next month. So with what we've noticed is that there's a lot of inexperience, or there's no cybersecurity team that, for instance, a baker will have in their business. It's not something that they look at initially. They're not going to have a huge IT department. And because of this, cyber criminals will often target SMEs. They target SMEs. And if you're supplying to a corporate, and this means that you are weakening the supply chain. If they can get through you, they actually want to get through you to the corporate. Alicia touched on ransomware. A lot of people don't even know what that is. Ransomware is basically when your files or data gets kidnapped, and suddenly you have to negotiate to get your data back. But the important thing to know about that is that you're not sure if when you get the data back, it'll be clean, it won't be infected, and all of that. So one of the solutions we use ensures that when you get your data back, it's your full data, and it's clean data. And we know that there's a lot of phishing attacks happening. Just to explain what a phishing attack is, phishing is when someone basically asks for your password and you give it to them on purpose in broad daylight. There's always it's an urgent email coming from, an authority figure, a boss, a bank, anyone who is an authority figure, and they are looking to get your personal data. They're looking to get your passwords, your bank details, and access your emails. And they do that by sending an email, sending an SMS. These often look very real, so they look like emails that you can trust, but most of them are often very urgent. And when an email is, it seems fishy, it often is. A lot of these emails will have spelling mistakes, urgent warnings, and links that don't really match, the real website that they deem to be coming from. As I mentioned as well, in terms of cybersecurity, it's important to ensure that you are cyber resilient because of compliance and legal risks, such as POPI and the Cyber Crimes Act. If you're a small business and you're supplying to the larger corporates, the larger corporates are increasingly demanding cybersecurity compliance from their vendors, especially if they handle sensitive data, they have access to clients' system, they integrate with the company's networks. They really are demanding that. We've seen that with a client of ours that works with a big bank, and they do request that you show that you are cyber resilient for you to keep your business. If your systems are breached, the risk will extend to the corporate client. So this means that you can be held legally and contractually liable if there's a breach. You could lose that relationship with the client. You could suffer reputational damage, and sadly be excluded from any future opportunities, bids, or contracts that might be available. So it's cybersecurity. It's not just a nice to have. It's something that is a requirement. For SMEs in corporate supply chains, it is a requirement. It feels expensive, until you compare it to the cost of a breach, a lawsuit, and a PR disaster. Now, when it comes to the POPIA Act, there's certain controls or things that SMEs should do in order to ensure that they are compliant. The first one is access controls. This means that you only give access to the data that staff needs for their job, and you also add extra login security like a one-time code and for anyone that needs to access these systems. Another one is ensuring that all your devices are protected. What does this mean? You obviously have to install strong antiviruses, firewalls, web protections, and all computers, servers, and mobile phones need to be secured. The third one is you need to ensure that you have regular backups and disaster recovery. What does this mean? As I mentioned before, if there is, a ransomware attack or anything like that, you would be able to recover and ensure that you can get all your data back in a clean state. Another one that's extremely important is staff training and awareness. Now, 90% of cyber incidents originate from human error. This means by someone clicking, a funny link or the misuse of credentials. It's important to run monthly sessions and also do fake phishing email tests to help your team to be able to spot, these scams and avoid very costly mistakes. All of these technical controls that I've mentioned are part of Section 19 of the POPIA Act, which speaks to security safeguards. The next one is obviously the Cyber Crimes Act, and the Cyber Crimes Act really criminalizes certain cyber activities and requires businesses to take cybersecurity more seriously, and the impact on SMEs is, you can be held criminally liable, if your systems are used to commit a cyber crime like phishing or ransomware, and you didn't take reasonable security steps, you will be liable to face criminal charges. The next one that impacts SMEs with regards to the Cyber Crimes Act is you must report cyber incidents. If you're breached and personal information was compromised, you need to report the matter to SAPS as well as obviously the information regulator. And then the next one is malware and phishing are now crimes. Now, if you host or you're spreading malicious software, even unknowingly, it can result in your prosecution. If someone steals your passwords and is able to get into your systems and steals information, then you are going to be held liable for that. And it's actually quite common, infected USB drives, people that are still using USBs, if they're infected and you infect and you cause a cyber incident, then you will be held liable. Okay, so I think the final steps to know, especially when it comes to the POPIA Act and the Cybercrimes Act, it's important to appoint your information officer. It's important to write or test cyber incident response plans, train your staff on a monthly basis, and partner with a trusted cybersecurity company. Okay, just to give you a short overview of what we do as the CySec Bridge, we basically manage your cybersecurity for you. We have the best of breed products that we plug in, as well as highly skilled human capital that monitor your systems 24/7. We've also got a security operations center that responds rapidly if there is a threat detected within 15 minutes, and then it is contained within 2 hours. And the CySec Bridge is proud to say that we are the first cybersecurity company to offer a cybersecurity warranty. What does this mean? So it means that if there is a breach that happens and you suffer information or data loss from this, any expenses that are incurred as a result of this breach will be covered by this warranty. This is just more about the warranty and what it covers. So anything like legal costs, public relations, IT, forensics will be covered by this warranty. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very informative presentation.
Thanks, Alicia.
Thank you. I'm just looking at the question. Are you going to be able to share the presentation after the webinar? Or just maybe your details,
I can
because
definitely do that.
yeah, and your details, contact details, or the relevant person's contact details, because I see a lot of requests for that. All right, but thank you so much for that very, very informative presentation. Colleagues, we move on to our next speaker, who is Sharon Knowles from Da Vinci Forensics. Sharon, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, from a very wet and cold Cape Town. Today, I'm just going to chat about one of the topics, which is phishing. And the reason that I'm going to chat about this topic is because of the number of incidents that we're seeing coming through. And there is a way that we can, as a small business, put certain things in place to stop and mitigate some of these threats. So I am hoping, can everyone see the presentation?
Yes, we are able to see your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. So what is phishing? It's quite a strange term because it's spelled differently to the way that we all fish. So it is an email, and it can come through as an SMS, or it can even come through as a voice call. So they're pretending to be a trusted source. And their aim is to steal credentials, data, money, and it depends on the nature of the call or the type of crime. So the attackers impersonate legitimate entities like banks, service providers. And if you can think back to some of the calls you've had, maybe a person saying that from the fraud department of your bank, and as a previous speaker said, maybe your boss asking you to do something. So it's quite important that we start to take time to listen, to read, and to really sort of interrogate these messages that are coming through, because they are increasing. So why does it matter in South Africa? Well, we've actually become such a hotspot for phishing because many users, many businesses are not trained in cyber hygiene. And according to the latest Interpol and SABRIC reports, South Africa is seeing millions in losses. And with a small business, you can't afford to have a minimal loss, because it can cripple the business. So we're among the top 3 targeted countries, and these are 2023 stats. And I will share a little bit with you with the latest stats and the Interpol report that has come out now. So Interpol stands for the International Criminal Police Organization, and they are an intergovernmental organization. So what that means is that a lot of countries get together, they work together, and they help the police, got a lot of police members, to make the world a safer place. Now, we joined Interpol in 1993, and the aim was to assist with cybercrime that was taking place in South Africa. And we have sort of jumped in the way, not only against the attacks against us, but also that the way that we deal with cybercrime. There are a lot of organizations that collaborate with the various police organizations, the police groups, like the Hawks, like the SAP stations. We do a lot of training with SAPS members, teaching them how to understand what a cybercrime is and how to take a complaint when it comes in. Now, if you just have a look at these 2 figures, the first one is the top 20 African countries by the number of ransomware threat detections. And you might ask the question, well, we're talking phishing. What has ransomware got to do with it? Now, the one thing about cybercrime is that you might have a number of incidents, but they're quite interlinked. So you could get a mail that a staff member's clicked on, and it could lead to a number of other incidents that could happen in the business. They could send a malicious link, which could install maybe software on the computer. It might infect the place where you're storing all your information. So some small businesses use maybe their Drive or Dropbox, and you can just imagine if you open a file that's infected and you share it to the Dropbox or whatever file for whatever cloud system you're using, and that file is infected, how it would affect the business and the other users that are also saving their documents and sharing documents like that. So if you have a look at the second diagram, a business email compromise. So business email compromise is sort of an elevated term for phishing. Business email compromise also sort of comprises different types of incidents. And the main one that we're seeing now is, as I think Alicia spoke earlier, is you send an invoice to one of your clients, or your vendor sends an invoice, and then there's a call, why haven't you paid? And you're quite shocked. I've sent the invoice. I've sent it maybe 2 weeks ago. And the person on the other side says, well, I haven't received it. So business email compromise affects a business and has an impact on the business from a financial perspective, because they could have paid into the wrong account, and it happens quite a bit. It's happening more and more and more. So we've got to be quite concise in the way that we look at our business, and we take a step back and we decide what sort of things are we going to use to protect our business? What are we going to put into place? Because I don't have a budget like a big business. I've got a smaller budget. What am I going to look at, and how am I going to put it into place? So I'm going to share a little example with you. This was an email, and I'll share a little secret with you. This was a mail that I received in my box last week. So this person wrote to me and he said to me, look, your name appeared in a database and you've been a victim. And with their team, their legal team, we can get your funds back. And he went on to mention that, you know, it was a cryptocurrency investment and they've caught this person. And he goes on to try and establish trust. You know, he understands it might be hard for me to trust anyone after what I've gone through. And he gives dates and he gives times. And the only, well, not the only reason, but one of the reasons that I knew that this was a phishing attempt was that if I play with cryptocurrency, I'm not a big investor. You know, I play a little bit here just to learn how the platform works. That was the first thing. The second thing is I'd never heard of this company. And here he was saying that they were established cybersecurity company, but, you know, their name was RD Finance. So I put on my investigator cap and I went to go and have a look. So if you have a look at some of the diagrams on the right, they had a website, the name was the same. They had a little padlock on their domain name. They even introduced the Exco team. They had a WhatsApp number. They even had an address. So I went to go and have a look at the Exco. And the one thing that I did was I had a look at their CEO there. And I took that picture and I put it into Google reverse image. And lo and behold, this is actually a real person and his name is Gregory. So he's definitely not a Jonathan. I checked out the WhatsApp number. I had a look at the address. And then obviously I did a little bit of a check around the business, RD Finance. And what I found was that actually it was a real business, but it had gone, it had been closed about 2 years ago. So this cyber criminal, the scammer, had bought the domain again and they were sending out mails. And what he had asked me is, or what he had said to me was, let's just have a chat. And here's my number. You know, it's not an obligatory call. We can just chat, you know, and we're not going to charge anything. We're going to ask you for only 20% of the recovered fees. So sort of makes you feel okay because look, you're not going to pay any money. They're going to take 20% of the recovered amount. You might ask yourself, okay, so what are they going to get out of this? And this is just a start to building trust. And as these calls continue, because he wouldn't have only spoken to me once, we would have moved on to WhatsApp and he would have said, listen, maybe here's a link, go and fill out your details, give us a little bit more information so we can open up a project for you, and et cetera, et cetera. So the things about the mail was he established credibility in the beginning of the email. He then spoke about cost and said, look, there's going to be no cost to you. We're only going to charge that 20% of the recovered amount. And with all phishing attempts, there is a sense of urgency. And here he's saying time is critical. You know, let's reply to the mail or let me know convenient time. And then he's got contact details and we would go and have a look, you know, just at the domain, see that there's a website. And I actually went a little bit deeper and found that the website wasn't very well built. They had forgotten to change a few things. But, you know, these type of mails have gone past the old sort of quick to see phishing emails where you would see the grammar that was spelt incorrectly. People are now using, cyber criminals are now using ChatGPT as well, just to refine their mails, just to refine their spelling and make sure that they tailor it to the area that you're in. So let's just look at a couple of tips here quickly. So you've got to start using multi-factor authentication. So that means you put an app on your phone, and when you sign into your mail or when you sign into certain apps, what it does is it actually gives you a code and you sign in like that. Have a look at the email sender. So you get a mail from Elon Musk, and if you just click on it, it'll open up to give you that address. So Elon Musk might be the person that appears to be sending it, but then you can actually see who really sent it. And usually it's a strange email address. But I must just tell you that a lot of companies also use free mail platforms. So, you'll have a lot of letters and that. You just need to sort of think about it, have a look at it, and maybe look at some other things in the mail as well. Do a search on the company and website if they're listed in the email. Deploy spam filters for your email accounts. Your IT person could do that for you. And then look at the address of the website. We are so quick to open up links, look at websites that we don't really see what we see. So if you had looked quickly, you would have seen take a lot. But if you had taken time, you would have seen that I'd done the A differently. Never click on unknown links in mails, WhatsApp messages, SMSs, and especially social media. And then ask yourself a few questions. Do I really believe Samsung will give me a new TV for sharing a post? Do I really believe that Taylor Swift is going to give me $1 million? Do I invest in cryptocurrency enough for them to say, we found you on a database? And do I really believe that I can get 150% returns on an investment? So there's a couple of it looks obvious, but it's not always obvious, because remember, this phishing and being taken by these cyber criminals have got nothing to do with education, intellectual level, anything like that. These are emotional scams. They manipulate and work on emotion. And then what I want to do is just end off by saying, you can't stop what you don't see. So teach your team to see. Whether you are a one-man business or you've got 50 people in the business, spend the time and teach people what to look for and how to cope with this new onslaught of attacks that we are all seeing in our businesses today. And that is me. Thank you.
Sharon, thank you so much for that presentation. Needless to say, for maybe the past, or my whole life, I've been saying phishing. So thank you for correcting me and for actually, I literally, that's what I've been saying my whole life. So thank you for that. I think to allude to what you were saying, I think some of the times we also need to look into what we receive. And as you said, from Taylor Swift tickets to, so it has to be, we also can't be gullible when it comes to these things. So thank you very much for that. I do see some questions coming in, but I will gather those and ask at the end of it, if that's okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Colleagues, we go on to our next speaker from Cybersec. So not Cybersec, Cybersec, and it's Doreen Mokoena. Doreen?
Perfect. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Doreen Mokoena. I am from Cybersec Clinique. I'm just trying to figure out how to share my screen for the presentation. Okay, just a second. All right, perfect. Okay, here we are. All right, please advise if you can see my screen. Please
advise. There's no presentation on there at the moment.
Okay, just a moment. Okay. I don't know if you can see it now.
Not yet. Just use the bottom button, the share screen. It's in green at the bottom.
Yeah, window
So we can see you now, not the presentation.
Wow. Okay, it says here that I'm sharing the screen. Okay.
Doreen, will you mind if I call
Yes.
if Cameron helped you with the presentation so long?
Yeah.
And then what
Yeah.
I'll do is I'll get Blair to start talking while Cam
Yeah.
helps you with the presentation, if that's okay.
Thank you so much. I think that's
All right.
feasible. All right, I'll just. All right,
Thank
thanks.
you. Colleagues, while we Cameron assist Doreen, can we have Blair from IT Anywhere to maybe take the floor? Blair, is that okay?
Yes, that's perfect.
Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. So my name is Blair, and I'm the CTO and co-founder of IT Anywhere. And for the past 9 years, we've been connecting business and technology by bringing enterprise-level managed services to the SME space. So we're a data-driven partner. We focus on helping business make educated, data-driven decisions. So far too many times have we seen the CEO go to the IT guy and say, hey, how's my network? Are we secure? Do my backups work? How's my patching? And we get the classic thumbs up. And we just thought that's quite crazy that there's this huge disconnect between businesses that are making these educated decisions and planning strategically. But when it comes to IT, they're happy with a thumbs up. So that was a big gap that we wanted to bridge, and we've been doing that quite successfully for some time. And it was quite important that we did that for the SME space because enterprises have budgets for these things, and the SME space was challenged to get that kind of quality with only a handful of users or a smaller environment, but still exposed to the same risk. So no business is too small for a cyber attack. That's really important. And that's something that we're passionate about helping the industry with. So today, what I want to dive into is a couple of points, and we've had some phenomenal feedback already. Just in terms of the technical safeguards and phishing and all these elements of cybersecurity. And I'm sure there's going to be more after me. But what I want to really focus on now is just looking at how do we develop a basic cybersecurity plan. We've got all this information, but we've got to package this and we've got to get it to the right people inside the organization so decisions can start being made. So where it all starts is really with awareness. If we're not aware of what this cybersecurity thing is or how it can impact us, we can't make decisions. So this is an amazing talk to be on because this is what we need to be doing is we need to be educating the SME space about the awareness of cybersecurity. And that's the job of MSPs and MSSPs and cybersecurity firms. And we're here and we're doing that. And the awareness is going out. Did you know 60% of SMEs close their business within 6 months after a significant cyber incident? And did you know also that the majority of cybersecurity budgets are signed off after an incident? So we got to understand what these bad actors are up to. They are after financial gain. That's still the main motivator for cyber attacks is financial gain. So these hackers or scammers, they smart, well-organized business people. They structured, they calculated. While most of us have an image in our head of a guy with a hoodie sitting in the basement hacking us, these people do exist, but they're not the kind of people that we need to be worried about. We're worried about organized crime. These guys have office space. They're in office blocks. They have staff. And these people have targets and deliverables. And there's teams of them. And so when we start really identifying what this looks like, we need to get serious about cybersecurity, but we also need to be able to afford it as SMEs because we can't just throw enterprise solutions into small environments. Okay, so the awareness is the first part. Then we also need to understand the principles that are going, what's happening in the cyberspace, what principles, what kind of keywords are we going to be hearing about? And we're really talking to businesses CEOs, Exco, the board. We need that level in the organization to understand these things. So we have a CIA triad. That's our confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So we need to make sure our Exco, the guys sitting at the top making decisions in the business, know what these things are and how they impact the business, because cybersecurity is targeting these key things. We need to know about least privilege, that we're only giving access to people who need access. These things also tie back to things like POPI, so they're all intertwined. We look at defense in depth, and Sharon spoke about phishing and ransomware and how these threats are all intertwined. And I love that, how she just kind of put that together, is because that's what a layered security defense, or now it's called defense in depth, is all about. Is not just focusing on phishing, not just focusing on ransomware, or understanding how we protect against all these things in the ecosystem. And then your human firewall, which is your people. And we heard again from our first speaker, 90% of your threats or your data breaches are coming from the user. Our users are trusted. Our laptops trust them, our antivirus trusts them, our firewalls trust them. So when they do something, it's allowed. And that's challenging for security. So we need them to be strong, so that they're not making, clicking on things we don't want them to click on. And then culture, something that we don't discuss enough in cybersecurity space, is there's a lack of culture that's been driven, again, top down. We need seniors, business owners, CEOs to drive this culture through the business. And this is how we handle security and cybersecurity, so that the business and the people are empowered through that. Now we've got some terminology, we've got some awareness going. We want to now start looking at things like your common threats. This has really been covered well today. We've got phishing, we've got ransomware. One thing which hasn't been covered is weak passwords. Nord Password, which is a password management tool. They've right up there in like the top 10 of these tools. They did a survey last year of 1,500 people, and that was March 2024. They found out that on average, a person has 168 personal passwords. And that's up from 2020, where we had an average of 80. So this is the gateway to your data. We should really be making complicated, long passwords and making that difficult for people to get in. There's unpatched software, shadow IT, and risk registers that we need to talk about. I didn't list everything. I just stopped on risk register because I thought, actually, that's got everything in it. If you're sitting in here with a business, or you working for a business, or you're part of an IT team, when last did you review your risk register? And did you align the technical risk with the business operation? And was that information communicated with the seniors in the organization so that they could accept, mitigate, transfer that risk accordingly? So we've got all this information now. Where do we go from here? We need to find out some path of least resistance when it comes to putting some stuff in place in an organization. So low cost protection strategies, how do we go there? So what we do is we help with the matrix. We got it in 4 quadrants, and we start with low cost, high impact. When you talk about high impact, we're about impact to securing your data. And then we've got low cost, long-term impact, things that we're going to spend a little bit of money on now. It's going to take a long time before we start seeing the impacts of these things in terms of securing our data and strengthening our security posture. And then we got higher costs, low impact, higher costs, long-term impact. And so we want to break that down firstly. Just do it blind. Don't even worry about what's most important. We know low cost is a path of least resistance with cybersecurity. So let's get the things that have high impact now, that cost the least amount of money, and let's close those holes immediately. While we're doing that, we can start digging into that risk register, looking at that forecast and that strategic roadmap. And maybe we bring some of those high costs up and do them now, once we can articulate what this means for the business. It's not just a box ticking exercise. We actually need to articulate this to the owners of the organization. Okay, so what can you do now? We've heard it. MFA, password management, regular updates of software, cybersecurity awareness training. We can segment networks. We can write up some basic policies, get senior leadership to sign them off. We can build a security culture top down from the leaders. We can get our backups in progress. These are things you most likely already have in place. And if you don't, a lot of them are already included in your systems that you're using. So just switch them on and get going, get some basic policies in place. So why is all this important? Why are we trying to put this plan together? Is because we need to know what the impact is. It's easy to look at the costs and talk technical and understand this is the best product and this is all great when it comes to cybersecurity and IT, but business owners want to know more. They want to get into the depth of what's happening there. So we've got to understand the impact. So we've got two here that I've pulled out. These are severe impacts. One is business continuity, and that will be your ability to actually recover from an incident, and also the reputational damage associated with that. And then your financial and regulatory consequences, which is like your fines and jail time and things like that. So with business continuity, this is absolutely critical. Again, mentioned by previous speakers, and they covered it really nicely. And I just want to dive into one point on that, is to say, you've got backups, you're testing your backups, but have you really engaged on the depth that is required to make sure that that backup services the business need? For instance, if you're a company that does 2 million rands worth of revenue selling nuts and bolts, you probably have a very high transaction rate. A couple hundred invoices an hour going out of your organization. A daily backup is not going to help you in a recovery for business continuity. There's far too many records that'll be missed between 8 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the breach happened, and you can't catch that up. But if you're a company that does 2 million rand a month and you're just doing 3 invoices a month, a daily backup is fine. So there's these business conversations around business operations and understanding that really needs to come to the forefront when we talk about cybersecurity and building that resilience, that the tools that you have are actually supporting the business and not just ticking a box. And then the financial impacts, I've got 3 here, but I'll just touch on the first 2. Is the first POPI fine was South Africa's Department of Justice and Constitutional Development was fined 5 million rand by the information regulator, and it was because they didn't renew their licensing on one of their security tools. Now we talk about culture, we talk about connecting business and technology, and why was this not a priority? And we talk about that culture filtering top down, and they had a breach while the license was expired, and that cost them. So it was actually quite a simple thing, but huge consequences. Dis-Chem, they also received a fine. Not sure if they've actually paid it or not, but it was up to 10 million rand. They were facing up to 10 million rand, so I haven't got an update on that story. But that was very interesting because they were missing a couple of technical things, but something that really stood out there is that they didn't have a data operator agreement. A small piece of paper, which is not an IT function. It's actually more compliance and legal thing you should be doing in your organization, that wasn't in place with one of their vendors. And that was one of the key items of why they failed to maintain their POPI compliance through the breach. Okay, so we've got all this information. I'm going to wrap it up nice and quickly and just quickly give you guys, just what we can do to help and kind of what you can do to get yourself, into a place where you've got a basic plan. That's not just an IT thing, that's a business thing, right? So first things is you need to identify all your assets, not just hardware, but your data assets. We call them like your crown jewels, the things that you're going to put in the most secure place because you can't afford to lose them. That's assets, people, data, systems. Identify these things. Then define policies. What is the acceptable use of these things? How are we going to protect them? How are we responding to incidences? Policies are rules. We need rules to be set by the people who are in charge. So that's really important. The assets and the rules are now dictated by the owners of the organization. From there, IT steps in, or your cybersecurity team, or whoever it is, they step in with a clear mandate from the owners of that organization saying, cool, we've identified our stuff, we've set the rules, now go and execute. They don't care how you do it, just make sure it gets done. And you go and put your MFA in, your backups, your endpoint security, your spam filters, XYZ. And then we move into training We're moving into testing and review, and then we update regularly. Cybersecurity is not a set and forget. And as I say that, I'm going to just reference Nonkululeko's note. She did have set and forget in her presentation, but she wasn't talking about it the way I'm talking about it. She was saying, for you as a customer, you can set and forget. They'll take care of the rest. And we're the same. So we're going to say, it's not a set and forget. We'll take care of it. You can just let us guide you from that point. So what we do here is we have a very simple framework for this. It's called AIM. We align, we identify impact, and we map. Okay, so we're going to put some standards in place and we're going to align with those standards. POPI is a great one. We need to align with POPI. Maybe you want to do CIS or ISO 27001. We're going to align. Then we're going to identify the impact through business analysis. How does it impact your organization? And then we're going to build strategic planning so that we can roll this out in a way that supports the business objectives and goals. And then we're going to support that from an IT point of view. We are supporting the business going forward. So we do have a neat little checklist. It's by no means comprehensive and complete, but it definitely will give you an indication of these kind of categories we're discussing today. Are you where you need to be, or do you have work to do? And also, like, do I need a lot more help than I currently have? Or do I have a team in place that actually, executing on this? It's going to give you a lot of insight into that, just at a very high level. So, Alicia, you can just guide us in terms of, how people can, get that resource from us after today's session. But that is it from me and from IT Anyway. Thank you.
So I think, Blair, thank you so much for that presentation. I see a lot of people on the call and also on social media. Shame, they're sending you a lot of love. I can see on the side there. They're very interested also in what you've said, and they've asked for your contact details. So if I have your permission, I'd like to send through your details to them, maybe to assist our members with the right help from a cybersecurity perspective.
Yes, please.
I will do that. Also, I think something very powerful that was said, and it's so important because this is something that, from a membership perspective, I always say as well, because we tier-based membership, So we have from SMEs right up to diamond members. So you said we cannot throw enterprise solutions into small spaces. And I think that's so important because there's a different level of assistance needed for SMEs as opposed to large corporate companies, So I think that is very powerful. Thank you for that. And as I said, I'll pass on the details to Cameron to send through to you. Thank you very much. Colleagues, we are going to see if we can get Doreen back on the call. Doreen, are you able to get back onto the call?
Hi, Alicia. Yes, I'm here. I was just goosing over Blair's presentation and I'm thinking, is he actually at the right space? Because I think he should be a TV presenter somewhere. That was so amazing. Thank you for that. I actually sent my presentation to Cameron. I don't know if she has received it, but let's try to share the screen again. Alrighty.
Okay, I do see
perfect.
something. Yeah.
All right. Okay, can you guys see my screen? I can on my side.
Yes, we are able to see it on our side as well.
All right, then can you see the second page? Are you able to see the second slide?
I think so. Does it say social engineering, ransomware?
Oh, yes. Oh,
okay.
Definitely.
Then we are able to see it. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I do apologize for the technical glitch. Sometimes the gods of tech, really do abandon you, just like what happened to me a few minutes ago. But nonetheless, my name is Doreen Mukwena. I am from the internet. I come from a company called Cybersecurity based in Rosebank. We've been operating for the past 7 years or so. Cybersecurity is a company that hires a lot of hackers. We are in the business of breaking and entering, and we're in the business of securing businesses as well. So we've done a lot of projects when it comes to digital transformation, protection of companies. We've brought a lot of companies back from ransomware, from DDoS attacks. We do a lot of onsets. We do digital forensics. We do the initial forensic investigation from data acquisition to storage and to processing and to reporting as well. We do onset, we do assessments, where we check system developments, we check architecture, and we check infrastructure. I also sit at the board of the Internet Service Providers Association as well, and I am an ICANN board member candidate as well. So my passion lies within cybersecurity, within all the domains, and it lies within protecting digital assets. So today I'm going to talk about something very different. I do acknowledge what all the previous speakers have said. They spoke a lot about phishing attacks. They spoke about all these trends that we notice within our space, particularly when it comes to data intrusion or hacking or what's not. But in the respect that my colleagues have actually touched a lot of trends that I have noted, I'm just going to focus on the ones which were not spoken about. First of all, I would like to talk about the first thing that you do as an SMME when you open your business, which is actually DNS, which is your domain name. Now, a lot of SMMEs do register their domain names, but they don't really understand the processes, the regulatory framework of registering for your domain name. And before I became a CEO at Cybersecurity, I used to be the director of internet for South Africa. I was stationed at the Domain Name Authority of South Africa, a company that regulates and manages the .co.za namespace. So I'm sure you guys are aware that the .co.za namespace in South Africa is our country code top level domain name. And we do have other generic level names like your .Cape Town, .Joburg. We do have other names as well, like your .org. So these are all managed by the .za domain namespace. Now, while I was there, I actually dealt with a very interesting case that I'm sure most of attendees here are quite aware of. There was a time where ANC was actually, they were in loggerheads with a company called Umnwembu. So what happened is Umnwembu went and registered the domain name for ANC, and they hosted the website for years. Now, when ANC wanted to move and change the service provider, which is the ISP, they realized that the domain name that is registered was actually not registered, as ANC's entity, but it was actually registered as this guy's digital asset. Now, it became an issue of IP protection, intellectual property, and who's the actual owner of that domain name. Then there was adjudication, and it turned out that when you look at the South African domain name registration policy, it says that whoever registered the domain name becomes the owner. So it's very important for business funders to make sure that when they register their names, the name is not registered under the ISP. For instance, for example, let's just say I own an ISP as Doreen Internet Service Providers Association. You come to me, you want to sell makeup. I say, okay, I'm going to build your website and I will register the domain name. And now once I register the domain name, I use my ID because as to authenticate. Now that name is automatically registered as mine and it belongs to me. Now you want to move your business away from me in terms of hosting and taking care of your ISP. Now I'm saying I can give it to you, but I own the name. So that is one of the issues that we have actually noticed as Cybersecurity, that when it comes to the protection of your digital footprint, most SMMEs don't actually pay attention to DNS. And now, if you do not pay attention to your domain name systems, that's where the biggest problem starts. We have assisted big artists which were signed to your Sony, but they couldn't get the entire contract because the domain name is actually owned by the producer. So we've noticed when Spotify came to South Africa, there was a guy in Alex who went and registered spotify.co.za. And the thing about this is that from a regulatory framework, the registration policies actually do allow for domain name squatting and domain name hijacking, which in a broader sense of things, we're saying that ethically it's illegal. I mean, I cannot wake up tomorrow and I go register proudly sa.co.za simply because they forgot to renew their domain name and the name went back to the pool of available names. So these things do happen. There are SMMEs who are actually doing a business out of DNS hijacking, which is immoral and unethical, but the policies, the regulatory framework does allow for that. So I guess that it's just time that, all the SMMEs and all the service providers need to come back together and actually look at some sort of a forum, look at some sort of a reform to make sure that the domain name registration policies actually do cater for SMMEs as well. Another thing that I want us to look at is the system development lifecycle. I've actually realized that most SMMEs, especially SMMEs that are running software development firms or startups, when we build systems, because I'm also an engineer, and we build the systems and we sell them to mines or we sell them to whoever that our clients are. When we build the system, there's a principle that says you build with security in mind. Most SMMEs just want to build, put the product into market or throw it on Apple Store, but they forget the underlying principles that govern system development. When you build a system for a client, it would be an app, a website, or an ERP, or you integrate a lot of APIs to actually bring your solution in one place. Make sure that you do cover the principles. Make sure that security is actually embedded from the first line of code that you write. Because right now, once you build the system as a SaaS and you take it out to market, and you're going to have a lot of people using that app or downloading it, it's very crucial for you that a lot of components are covered, especially data security, especially security, especially, user analytics. We're going to look at things like integrating AI and machine learning into your SDLC. But the most important thing for us to look at, as a person who writes this and as a cybersecurity, engineer, is that we need to build with security in mind so that when we take it out to the market, our systems are secured. And over and above everything, we do have a fiduciary duty, as engineers, to make sure that whatever that we're bringing to the market is actually regulated and it's secured. My previous colleagues have touched a lot about on POPIA and GDPR, and I'm just going to talk about ISO. We've got different ISOs, which are security standards. Now, when it comes to, one of the ISOs that I really love to integrate in my software engineering practices, actually, ISO 2701, which talks a lot about information security. Now, then we integrate another standard as well, which is 9000, which talks a lot about, system security too. So it's very important as well, because now how these attackers or bad actors get into our environment is through these channels, especially when you are hosting systems which are not secured, system which the data sovereignty is not well defined. So one of the principles of POPIA, if you look at all the conditions, especially conditions, I think from chapter 7, that talks a lot about how data needs to be processed, how data needs to be acquired, and how data needs to be stored. It talks and it draws a lot of attention from the system development lifecycle. So let's just build with security in mind so that we protect both the end user and we protect ourselves as well. And I spoke about, DNS hijacking too. And I'm just going to touch on ransomware, but I do believe that my colleagues have spoken about it. So I will just talk about, hacking smart contracts and what that actually means for an SMME. My my colleagues again actually touched on phishing attempts, and business email compromise. So it's very crucial for SMMEs, in as much as I understand that this is expensive technology, but I do believe that my colleagues also do offer these services as well. It's very important for SMMEs to actually have measures in place that talk to digital signatures. So if ever you're running a company that deals with payment gateways, or it's a fintech company, or you sell things online on Take-A-Lot, I would really recommend that you start integrating things like non-repudiation. Non-repudiation is actually one of those principles that says that if you have a bookkeeper that is responsible for releasing payments, and if they do initiate a transaction, they cannot go back again and say that transaction was not initiated by me. So we have seen this with a lot of companies that where fraud happened, and you'll find out that the principle of least privilege, or maybe the role-based access was not properly defined, and one person is actually they load payments, and this very same person is the one that releases them, and the very same person is the one that actually records this payment. So in a natural setting, that could be fine. But in a high moving tech environment, that is really risky. And I would really like to believe that for your business as well, confiding all the roles to one person has to be relooked at. So just you really need to integrate the principles of non-repudiation and make sure that one role is not actually stick to one person. If one person loads payment, the other one needs to release, and the other one needs to record this payment, so that we really do avoid the issues of non-repudiation. And I would also like to look at, how to avoid business email compromise. Obviously, now this draws back to the ISP. Who is the person that is taking care of your emails? Who's taking care of who's taking care of end user security? And most importantly, who's taking care of the cPanel? Now, if that is done in-house and you do have access to go to your internet service provider's back end and play around with that, you really need to have policies in mind. My previous colleague spoke about, the principles of less privilege, and spoke about a lot of security controls that have to be placed to ascertain that bad actors don't actually gain unauthorized entry. So your email, your DNS and your email is one of the biggest backbone of your business. Now you need to have proper security when it comes to that. And now that starts with having policies. So we're going to look at the regulatory framework. What kind of policies do you need for your small business? Luckily, we do have resources which are available online for small business to actually take, and they can work on, and they can refine those policies to suit their specific industries. However, it's important to have a policy as an SMME if you do not have, rather if you allow your employees to bring their own devices. So there are SMMEs who are just starting out. I'm going to draw into SMMEs that are building apps. Maybe they are just a bunch of friends and they meet at probably at WeWork, or they meet at Starbucks. Now, all of them, they have their own devices and they bring their devices. Now, as an entity, do you have a bring your own device policy? And is that policy defined? Now, there are also issues of if the code is written on my computer, who owns the code? So it's the same issue as if you come to record a song at my house, I own the song. So there are a lot of cuts and stones when it comes to IP ownership, and when it comes to cybersecurity as well. Thus, having policies that are protecting both the employer and the employee, it's very crucial at our stage. Now we're going to talk about cloud exploits. I've noticed that a lot of SMMEs are actually getting hit via cloud exploits. So it goes back to the question the conversation that we had about 2018, 2019, when cloud was such a very big thing and people were starting to adopt it rapidly. The question was, who owns the data in the cloud? So I take my car, go put it in someone else's garage, and I pay for the garage. Do I still have ownership of the car? It was the very same, discourse that was happening in the industry. Now, how do cloud exploits happen? So if you have a data warehouse, or if you're building a data warehouse, it's crucial as an SMME to understand what the prescripts of the contract is saying. If your contract is saying that I am going to keep a copy of the data that is in the cloud, you need to understand sovereignty of your data. Where is my data being stored? Is it stored in South Africa? Is it stored elsewhere? And what are the rules, or rather, what are the regulations that define or that govern how data should be stored or how data should be processed? We have seen a lot of companies that when they terminate the contract, the vendor still keeps a part of that data, either for their own compliance or either for just 5 years. Mines actually require that data is stored for years, for about 45 years, which is one of the DMR policies and principles. Now, when it comes to industry specific principles, it's important for SMMEs to understand exactly what are the prescripts of that contract. What does me putting my data at a company like Terraco or Amazon, what does it say about my data? What does it say about, the storage, about the copies? Do they retain part of my data? I need to understand how is it stored. The previous speaker spoke a lot about the CIA triad, which actually talks about the availability, the integrity, and the confidentiality of your data. So the same, requirements, or rather the same expectations that we have with the vendors, are the very same expectations that clients have with SMMEs when it comes to their data handling. So it's important for an SMME to have proper data handling principles, whether from classifying your data to storing your data or to archiving your data. You need to have these principles, and more than anything, have the last privilege principle embedded in your environment that will ascertain that things are seen by people that are assigned to. And now I just want us to talk about, 3 domains. So I just chose these 3 domains because I do believe that the previous speakers have touched a lot on the various domains. So I need SMMEs to understand that, cybersecurity has a lot of domains. There's security architecture, there's governance, risk management, there's your system development practices. We have the principles, we have we have the standards as well. So it's important for you to choose which one speaks to your environment. My environment, it's a crude environment that deals a lot with software engineering. We do a lot of SIM solutions and management and monitoring, and we do a lot of cybersecurity architecture. Hence, these ones are very close to my heart. Now, what is your cybersecurity posture as an SMME? Now, if I walk into your environment and you ask me to do an onset or to do a cybersecurity assessment, and the first thing that I will do, obviously, I'm going to ask for either an IP address to play around it. And it's important for us to understand that when we do these assessments, we do have exclusions. For instance, I cannot come to an environment and do a DDoS attack or a ransomware or stage a phishing attempt. We cannot do that. The law does not allow us to do. But however, the first thing that you need to do as an SMME is you need to understand from a regulatory perspective, how many policies do I have? Now, the information regulator is saying that if you find out that there's a cybersecurity breach, it is actually your fiduciary duty to report it to the information regulator. Now, if I work into your environment and I'm asking for 5 policies, I'm asking for a simple policy. I'm asking for an acceptable use policy. I'm asking for a password policy, perhaps. I'm looking for a simple policy, maybe as a privileged access management, or we're looking for a disaster recovery plan. Now, you cannot process data and not have these policies. Because first of all, your own environment has to be refined and your posture has to be checked, it has to be tested, and we need to ascertain that your posture is secured for you to actually process this. this amount of data. Now, as an SMME, you need to go back again, sit down with your CISO if you have one, or with your IT manager. Look at your risk framework. Look at your risk posture and your cybersecurity posture. Ask yourself, should I get hit today? How long is it going to take me to recover? Will I still have copies of this data? Where is this data stored? Do you understand the 3-2-1, our principle when it comes to the storage of data? So I always say to companies or whoever that I'm speaking to, ask yourself one thing: if I get hacked at 2 a.m., how long will it take me to recover? And will this affect my clients? So these are one of the questions that actually should drive your cybersecurity posture. Cam spoke a lot about, I think he touched on drawing a cybersecurity plan. I will touch on having a cybersecurity and an IT strategy. Do you have one for your organization? I mean, have you identified what the pitfalls are? Do you have a risk register? Do you have an asset register? Do you understand that things like your software, these are actually your assets? Because now when you speak to SMMEs and you talk about, their cybersecurity posture, they think that cybersecurity is just something for the IT department. It's something that is not for them. Well, the thing is, if you do have digital footprints, I have bad news for you. You need to have your cybersecurity posture checked, and it needs to be defined and refined if it's not up to par. And again, I will go back again, to the system development practices. Even as an SMME and you procure services from another vendor, you need to understand what their practices are. You need to understand, just like me, I procure my services, maybe let's just say from AWS. I understand what their plans are. I know if they get hit, this is how long they're going to take to come back. I know that my data pipeline is structured in this matter. In an event of a data breach, this is what's going to happen. This is this very same comfort that you need to give your clients as well as an SMME, that, listen, I understand that should this happen to me, what is your failover plan in basic English? So, from a reformed hacker, I would really like to say to you, please, I need you to understand, what your domains are. And your domains are actually specific to different industries. So if you sell perfume, these are your issues. If you sell shoes online, you need to understand that you need to have, DNS security embedded, in your DNS. You need to know that someone can actually come and deface my entire website. We have seen this during Black Friday. People go to Nike, they deface their entire website. Now they still sell these sneakers for 200 Rand. That is website defacement. So there are measures to protect that. Have DNS locker, have a DNS security embedded on your domain name. So these are the things that SMMEs actually need to be aware of. But we're very cognizant to the point that these technology come expensive. But I always say to SMMEs, YouTube is actually the greatest university that one can actually enroll in and have a very perfect cyber posture. This is my last slide. Now, how do you bulletproof your organization? So, I mean, we get very weird calls at very weird hours. Someone will call you, a very big bank will say to you, we got hit. What do we do? Popeye says, if you get hit within 4 hours, you need to inform your clients. You need to inform your people that are actually within the businesses as well. So we need to understand that we need to deal with the human shield. Yes, we can have all these nice fancy systems and softwares that are meant to protect businesses, but if we do not deal with the human capital, then we are doomed. So I always emphasize that, I always emphasize for end user training. Make sure that you do have an LMS. Make sure that, IT is actually embedded into HR. Employees need to understand that, no matter how disgruntled I am, if there's a data breach and IT is saying to me, my system has to be removed from the network, it has to be isolated, it has to be exiled, I shouldn't click on links, because obviously we do have employees which are not happy with us. And in an event of a data breach, you ask them to isolate their machines. They go in there, they click links, and they further spread the damage within the network. So these are some of the issues. So it's very important that before we look at our cybersecurity posture, to ascertain that our employees are actually happy, to make sure that our employees understand what cybersecurity is, and they do understand the cyber, the cybersecurity breaches that might happen. So you will find out that a breach was supposed to be contained within 2 hours now, but because of the constant links, it just spreads and spreads and spreads, and it turns out that containment now has to lead to a disaster recovery plan. So it's important for us, to have a weekly or monthly sessions with employees, understand where their cybersecurity posture is, understand what digital literacy is, because there's a big difference between understanding or having digital access to having digital literacy. Digital access is saying that I can get access to Facebook at any time. Whenever I buy a new phone, I register a new account, and you find out one person has 7 Facebook profiles. Now, digital literacy is actually understanding that I don't need to actually register a new account. I can go in there and click on forgot password and get a new password. So that's the very same principle that we need to embed within our organization. We start with the human element, then we move to policy, then we move to regulatory framework, we move to controls, we move to physical controls, then we move to actually securing the entire organization security posture. So with that said, thank you so much from Cybersec Clinic. Thank you so much, guys, for listening in. I hope you learned a lot, and you are available for further teaching. And fortunately for us, we actually do not offer services to SMMEs, but however, we do offer free solutions to SMMEs, like policies, like security controls. We offer, policies templates that you can take and embed, and you can actually we offer code clinics as well. If you have a problem with your code and your code is not running perfectly, we do look at it and we advise. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. I hope you learned a lot from me. Thank you.
Doreen, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. Just, sorry, one question for you. Isaac, on the chat box, just asked, how do I find out whether my domain has been registered under my name? Because it's been a while having this company hosting our domain.
Alicia, I think I had a network glitch there. I didn't get your question. Please repeat for me.
So it says, how do I find out whether my company domain has been registered under my name? Because it's been a long while having this company hosting our domain.
Okay. So I'm just going to give you a long-winded answer, but you'll understand. I'm a teacher, so yeah. So in 2018, Moses, it was very possible for us to actually find this out within seconds. So in 2018, GDPR was introduced to South Africa. Conditions of GDPR was that data has to be redacted from WHOIS. Now, ISPs use a system called, it's an escrow system called WHOIS, WHOIS. So when you Google whois.co.za or you just go to whois.com, you enter the domain name. You don't have to enter the entire URL. Just you enter maybe alicia.co.za. Then it will give you the DNS records. Now, some of the information has been redacted. So what you can check, actually, you will find the registrar or the registry's information that the domain name is registered under. Now, after you do that, you actually contact the registrar, which is probably your AfriHost or whoever, and you ask for DNS records. But you're going to go through a lot of authentication. It's very long, but please comply so that you can get this info. If you are the registered owner, they will gladly give it to you. But if it's a domain name abuse issue, then you have to speak to the ZACR, which is the top registry for domain names in South Africa. Then they will redirect your query to the domain name authority. So yeah, I did say that it's going to be a very long-winded answer, but I hope you do get it. And
Sorry, colleagues, I think we've lost Doreen. I think it's the signal, but I think she did cover the question adequately. Just with regards to the program, we are at our last speaker. And then we'll take a bit of questions if there is any before we close. I think our last speaker is Sashin Tulsiram from Galebo Professional Services. Session, the floor is yours.
Thank you for that, Alicia, and thank you to the Proudly SA team for hosting this event, as well as the other presenters. It's great to have this opportunity. I will be starting my screen share. So please let me know if you are able to see my screen, and then I may begin. Thank you.
Yes, we are able to see the screen. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So I represent Kalibue Professional Services, and today I will be presenting our Kalibue Secure SMME product to the audience. So just a bit of introduction as to who Kalibue Professional Services is. Kalibue Professional Services was founded by our leader, Cecil Tokwane. He has over 30 years of experience in the IT industry. Our organization is a system integrator, and we provide end-to-end system integration services as well as ICT services. Our main key areas of focus is in cybersecurity, cloud technology, digitization, and enterprise content management. We are proudly South African. We are a 100% Black-owned business, and we also closely work with key stakeholders in the South African environment, such as Standard Bank and quite a few SMMEs. We have been operating in South Africa for the past 15 years. Next, I will provide a basic overview of the cybersecurity landscape in South Africa. So, as the audience has mentioned, SMMEs are not excluded from cyber threats. And what we have seen worldwide is there has been a huge push for digitization and digital transformation within a lot of organizations. Everyone depends on technology in today's world, and nationalities have funded their own state-owned enterprises to perform cybercrime within the industry, and threats are becoming more and more prevalent each and every year. Some of the stats that I will allude to is just the financial repercussions that South African companies do face. 24% of companies within South Africa experience ransomware attacks. There's been a huge amount of data that has been stolen because of these attacks. And the last thing you want as a business is to face a cyber threat and not have the proper policies and procedures in place to understand what needs to happen next. There will be your incident response, which needs to happen. There also needs to be formal communication sent through sometimes. And, if there's no policies and procedures in place, there can be very dire consequences thereof from the information regulator as per our POPIA law. So here I've just listed out the top 10 countries that have been affected by cyber threats in Africa. And it is quite clear that South Africa is being targeted much more than our peers here in Africa. And that means that we do need to implement the correct cybersecurity measures here for our businesses. Next, I've just put a slide together for cybercrime and the SMME landscape here in South Africa. Cybersecurity is no longer optional for our SMMEs. SMMEs play a critical role in driving the local economy here in South Africa, so they play a major role in job creation, innovation, and the overall prosperity of our country. The business risks which our SMMEs face are financial losses, reputational damage, as well as operational disruptions via cybercrime. And, small businesses usually have fewer computers or servers within their operations, and cyber attacks on these key infrastructure would lead to the business not being able to fully operate. It could also mean potential exposure of their own company data as well as their clients' data. So there are huge implications there, as well as legal implications, such as human error, or, for example, the loss of data, as mentioned, and these can have, again, very dire consequences. So we are here to support our SMMEs from a cybersecurity perspective, and I will get into that in my next slide. So Kalibue Secure SMME is a product which we have developed, which provides an all-in-one offering for our SMME cybersecurity needs. It's a holistic cybersecurity solution that has been designed for our SMME market. And it's not just a product, it also is the full service that you will need from a business perspective. So from a business perspective, as well as an SMME, you generally do not have the investment to make in having the correct teams to continuously look at your environment and provide cybersecurity services. So here we will provide the products and services that you will need to support your cybersecurity needs. Our platform is a AI-driven cybersecurity platform, and this also enables us to provide a lot of value propositions thereof, which I will get to in my next slide. Our system has been designed to be an enterprise-grade protection system. That does sound expensive, but trust me when I say this, one of the key concepts in building the solution out was to ensure that it is cost-effective and it will meet our SMME market needs. We have a huge focus on our platform being accessible, being able to automate as many processes as possible, as well as support innovation. And these key items empowers businesses to take control of their cybersecurity needs with ease and confidence. Generally speaking, our system does eliminate a lot of the complexities often associated with traditional solutions, where customers may be buying or purchasing separate products for separate needs. Here, as mentioned, we provide a holistic cybersecurity solution. So all of the cybersecurity capabilities are encompassed under one platform. And just to list a few common cybersecurity attacks that SMMEs do face. Generally speaking, as the other presenters have mentioned, it's generally your phishing attacks, the compromised passwords, as well as malware and ransomware, which is running rampant throughout the SMME market. And to mention, our system does cover all of these areas. So at the bottom, I've just listed out a key note, which is that 60% of SMMEs close within 6 months of a data breach, and we're here to help you to not let one of those companies be yours. Our value proposition for our platform is that it's cost effective. It's cost effective. It offers you an affordable, comprehensive solution tailored to your budget. Within our SMME product, which is Kalibue Secure, there are also various options that you can select, which means that you can either select the basic or premium tier based on your needs. And our organization will perform a full-on assessment to confirm which product or service would be best suited to your needs. As mentioned, it's an AI-driven platform. This enables us to automate a lot of capabilities so that there's generally very less manual intervention. that needs to happen. So AI allows us to save a lot of time in getting human resources to actually perform some of the basic tasks and automation which needs to go in thereof. This saves valuable time and resources with regards to threat detection, remediation, or handling compliance tasks that may be related to POPIA or other regulatory laws. We do have a focus on enhanced productivity by removing the burden of managing cybersecurity internally. Our platform allows SMMEs to focus on their core business activities. So employees can work without the fear of cybersecurity disruptions. This generally leads to higher productivity and operational efficiency. And they also do have the peace of mind that 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 we are there to support their business on a 24-hour basis. And the reason for this is that cyber criminals don't sleep. They don't operate on a 9 to 5 schedule. And however, we do provide 24-hour support around the clock to ensure that we're monitoring your systems and we can assure threat mitigation of anything that does come up. With regards to scalability for growing businesses, our platform scales according to the business needs, whether you're adding new employees, expanding your network, or venturing into new markets. Our platform is designed to scale seamlessly so that we can accommodate for the expansion of your businesses as well as workforce. And then lastly, we do offer simplified compliance management. Navigating the regulatory laws is a daunting task, and Kalibue Secure SMMEs compliance tools simplify the process. We reduce the risk of any penalties and ensures that your business stays on the right side of the law. Next, I will move on to the key capabilities of our platform. As mentioned, we have an AI-powered threat detection and response engine. This utilizes the state-of-the-art AI and machine learning algorithms to identify, analyze, and neutralize cybersecurity threats in real time. This proactive approach helps businesses defend against a wide array of cybersecurity threats. And those threats include phishing attacks, ransomware attacks, as well as data breaches. Our AI platform is continually evolving. It learns from new and emerging threats, and this ensures that your business stays one step ahead. As earlier mentioned, national countries have invested in their own state-owned capabilities to basically hack other countries and companies and their networks. And we are continuously learning about these cyber threats that do come out in the industry and environment. And then our system adapts and learns to that on a continual basis. Another key capability of our system is providing enterprise endpoint security. So we have a robust endpoint detection and response capability. Kalibue Secure SMME provides 24/7 monitoring and detection to protect all of your connected devices on the network. This covers your laptops, your mobile devices, your servers, as well as any IoT devices that may be within your environment. And the platform safeguards every endpoint, preventing unauthorized access and isolating threats that may affect them before they can spread. Next, we have our single sign-on and password management capabilities. Our platform simplifies and secures user authentication with its single sign-on feature, and this enables employees to access multiple applications with a single set of credentials. It's an integrated password. It integrates with password management tools to ensure that we are using strong passwords that are unique, and this reduces the risk of credential theft as well as enhancing the overall security hygiene. Our platform also does offer security information management. What this does is it analyzes and aggregates all of the activity across your IT infrastructure. It collects your security data from your cloud platforms, your network hardware, your servers, domain controllers, and other key components within your infrastructure. And we analyze this information and alert you on any potential threats or vulnerabilities. And thereafter, we will also ensure that those threats and vulnerabilities have been mitigated. And to touch on again, this is done in a real-time basis, 24/7. Next, we have our DNS filtering and automated remediation. The platform proactively blocks any malicious activity or access to your websites and domains through DNS filtering. This significantly reduces the risk of malware infections and phishing attacks via your email domain as well as your website. In the event that a threat is detected, Kalibue's secure SMMEs team will ensure that the automated remediation capabilities are implemented and swiftly neutralizes the issue that may come about. And the system is developed to ensure that we minimize the downtime and impact to your business operations so that you can continue focusing on what you love most, and that's running your business. Next, we have our compliance and reporting tools. Our business supports other businesses in navigating the complex world of cybersecurity compliance. The platform has built-in compliance management tools to help SMMEs adhere to the industry-specific regulations such as POPIA, or HIPAA, or any other law such as the FSCA law. We would be able to review what regulations you need to follow and then implement that within our tool stack. And we then are able to provide advanced reporting and analytics based on your needs. Our platform, we do have a management platform which is centralized. It's extremely user-friendly. The platform is designed with simplicity in mind, and it offers an intuitive browser-based interface that allows SMMEs to manage their cybersecurity needs with ease. As mentioned, we do have a 24/7 management center, which would assist with any issues that come about. So generally speaking, this tool assists us in managing multiple clients, streamlining their operations, and improving the service delivery for us, mainly because we have a centralized platform with a single pane of glass that provides all of these capabilities that I have mentioned. And then lastly, a critical thing in the cybersecurity landscape currently is that the user is prone to make a mistake, and it's called human error. We all human. Some of us make errors on a daily basis, and none of us are prone. We are all prone to making errors. So cybersecurity awareness, we do have a cybersecurity awareness training platform built in within our system. And this is to ensure that we're creating a culture of cybersecurity awareness. This helps businesses achieve their compliance requirements and prevent breaches. We are able to provide the employee training, and this training is usually done using animations or storytelling. We also perform phishing simulations that is interactive and based on real world incidents. And here again, this cybersecurity awareness platform is continuously updated so that we are seeing we are meeting the latest cybersecurity threats from the perspective of there has been a huge improvement in AI, and cyber criminals have now begun using AI to perform phishing emails to users. And here we do have our platform, which does teach employees how to identify malicious emails and what they can do to act on those emails thereafter. Next, we have our Kalibue Secure SMME Managed Services. And this speaks to the managed services that we do offer with our Kalibue Secure product. And this includes your 24/7 cybersecurity monitoring, the managed threat detection and automated remediation, firewall management, managed endpoint detection and response, security awareness training, and your managed security operations center. And this encapsulates all of these services which an SMME would need to protect against these threats. Lastly, we have a basic outline of how we approach our customers and understand where they are. And this ties into my next slide, which is our approach in assisting SMMEs. Generally speaking, we like to perform an assessment and an audit of our customers' environment. We then would review and recommend the products and services that they would require. And then we will implement the standards, processes, plans, compliance guidelines, and governance requirements to our customers and implement that for them in the implementation and onboarding phase. Once they are in that phase, we will manage, monitor, respond, and resolve any issues that they have, and then report on those events to our customers. Generally speaking, we would love to hear about your business, understand where you are, and perform these assessments. The assessments and audits are free of charge. We will meet with our customers and take them through that process. We focus on not just selling a product or service, but building a relationship with our customers and understanding where they are at the moment. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And yeah, have a good day, everyone. I'm looking forward to any questions as well. So please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Very valuable. I think our member companies are learning a lot, as well as our participants. We don't seem to have any questions at present. If there are any questions, we will email it through to the speakers so that you have you are able to help the participants on the call a little bit better. But for now, there's nothing that in the chat box. So I would like to take the opportunity to thank every one of our speakers today. You have really added so much of information to our SMEs, and it is such valuable information. So Sharon, Blair, Doreen, and the rest of our speakers, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Please do share your presentations if possible, and we will direct any questions to you. Thank you very much. We have come to the end of our webinar. Thank you for joining us today. Take care. Bye-bye.